Welcome back again to our wonderful online series here at Meditate Upstate. We are in week 6 of our 8-week series. This is going to be a doozy. It's going to be a wonderful class, and I'm so eager to get into the heart of the matter that we're going to be talking about this week. So let's get right into it. We're going to do a quick refresher before we delve in, just to catch all of us up to speed. So this week we're talking about the 6th and 7th energy centers, the Agnya and Sahasrara Chakras, and we'll be getting into that in a bit. Very exciting, rounding out our overview of our 7 energy centers. So what we've been doing is really talking about how this happens, what we need to do to make it absolutely effective, and what's happening in the background when we're meditating, which is incredibly juicy morsels of information that help us understand why we're feeling the sensations that we're feeling when we're meditating, why we're struggling to get to that state of thoughtless awareness, what's really happening, the workings within the system that make it all come together. So we've talked about this system, which is a compilation of our 3 energy channels, the left, the right, and the central energy channel. And we've given an overview first of the driving force between this entire happening, our Kundalini, or inner feminine energy, which is that activating force which makes it all happen. When awakened, rises up this central channel, this central energy channel, through each of our 7 energy centers, rising up all the way up to the very top, to ultimately reach the 7th energy center at the crown of the head. So we've gone over the first 5. We're moving on to chakra 6 and 7 this week. When our Kundalini energy reaches up to this 7th energy center, this is this happening that we are all yearning for. This is why we're here. This is why, even if we're just here for the simplistic goal of being able to silence our minds and get into that state of meditation, self-realization, or this happening when our inner energy culminates at the crown of the head, is the reason why we're actually having a transformative experience, a visceral experience where we're able to sense these very subtle vibrations or energy on the top of the head and in the palms of the hands. And this driving force, this working energy within us, our Kundalini, is what's governing the entire practice, which is what's making it all happen. Us getting into the state of thoughtless awareness is the conducive space to make it all take place. So that's an incredibly important aspect of it. When it's happening, we're seeing all of these imbalances, which are a result of our impurities within our subtle energy system, start to transform. So if we look at our 6th energy center, this reactivity, this arrogance, which is so ever present with an imbalanced or blocked 6th energy center, will become transformed and manifest into these more positive qualities, forgiving nature, and more humble. This humility that many of us are unable to reach for various reasons. And we'll be getting into that as we go through, starting today with our 6th energy center, or the Agnya Chakra. So our 6th energy center is located at the forehead, right at the center of the forehead, the area medically known as the optic chiasm. We're going to be talking about that. Let's talk first about our imbalances, which are present when we have an imbalanced Agnya Chakra. So when we don't have this quality of forgiveness established within us, we find it incredibly difficult to forgive. We have a lack of humility. We're boasting about ourselves. We're just not thinking about others, and so our behavior is dominating. We can indulge into dwelling in the past or sulking, or we can become overly comfortable worrying about the future, ultimately having an anxious drone lifestyle. So either indulging into the past, which is the left side, or into the right side, which is the future. So this has to do with an imbalanced Agnya Chakra. We'll see that our nature is manifesting into any of the following: arrogance, narcissism, and oppression, oppressing others or allowing oppression upon ourselves. So not great stuff, but aspects that a great deal of us are familiar with from time to time in our lives. So what happens when our sixth energy center gets into a balanced state? It's a great place. We very naturally, very spontaneously, very effortlessly feel forgiving. We are forgiving. We have mercy. We don't retain this anger, this resentment, this judgment nature. It just effortlessly happens. So our pride that we find ourselves so incredibly attached to becomes less important than the respect of ourselves and the respect of others. So it naturally makes us humble, a humility that's not self-oppressive, that's not doubting ourselves, that's not putting others ahead of us, but it's also not a place or an ego in which we are putting ourselves ahead of others. So no extremes either on the left, in which we are oppressed, or the right, in which we are oppressing others. So humility. A moderation is a great quality of this Agnya Chakra. We talked about self-respect, a balanced sense of self, so no extremes on the right or the left, non-oppressive on others, and just an intolerance on an oppression on ourselves. That isn't an anger or a frustration, but it's a patient intolerance. It's somehow this kind of dichotomy of being intolerant of oppression, of being oppressed, but also developing a quality of tolerance and a quality of patience. And miraculously, these can all go hand in hand. So really beautiful qualities that we can look forward to. Now we're going to get into the slightly tricky and hard to understand aspect of this sixth energy center in terms of its location, but I'm breaking it down very simply so we can get to it. So our sixth energy center is right at the center of the forehead. It's in the optic chiasm or chiasma. It's pronounced different ways, right at the center of the forehead. This chakra governs our sight, our hearing, and our thought. It also governs our endocrine systems. Our endocrine system, our glands such as our pituitary gland, which governs our metabolism and our sleep. And it governs our pineal gland, which secretes melatonin, we know is so incredibly important for the governing of sleep, and it regulates, or it helps us in the process of anti-aging. So regulation, controlling extremes. We always see these parallels between the physiological aspects of each of our energy centers and the qualitative or quantitative aspects as well. So let's look at this optic chiasma. Right at the center of the forehead. And if we take a closer look, we can see that at this sixth energy center, there is a crossroad. This is what our optic chiasm is. It's a crossroads. So what we're looking at now is an image of the brain, looking at it from above. We're looking right here at the top of the brain. We can see the eyes at the top of this image right here, and right at the center of the brain is this X. This X is the optic chiasm. And the optic chiasm actually means crossing. And so it's actually the crossing of the optic nerves. It has to do with our vision. It has to do with the transportation of information. And we'll get into that in a moment. So it's really a center of processing of information. So it's a very interesting aspect within us, governing all of this processing of information. So what's happening at the optic chiasm? Well, if we look at our vision, our visual field is a very interesting way of looking at how this incredibly important processing of information takes place, and it's going to relate to how our subtle system works as well. So just a little bit medical, we're going to break it down. When we look at the world around us, our right and left eyes both observe the entire visual field. So our right eye observes the right and left visual field. Our right eye can see everything on our right and on our left, and our left eye also observes everything in our visual field. Our left eye observes what's on our left, and our left eye also observes what's on our right. What happens then is that that information coming in to our eyes, coming in through that optic nerve, is then processed at the optic chiasm, and it's split up. So although both our right and left eyes are taking in information from the right and left in a collective way, at the optic chiasm, a filtering takes place so that all of the visual field that's being observed on our left side, even though it's being observed on our left by our left and our right eye, all of that information coming in from our left visual field then gets sent to the right side of the brain. So everything that's being seen on the left side of us is being processed in the right side of the brain, and that all gets separated at the optic chiasm. And to complement that, everything that's being observed on our right side, the right visual field, as it's coming in through our right and left eyes, is being sorted at the optic chiasm and being processed on the left side of the brain. So an incredibly interesting aspect in terms of how our brain processes what we see. This is also evident through the functions of our brain. So our brain is divided into a right and left hemisphere, right at the right side and the left side of that optic chiasm, or the thalamus, which is right at the center of the brain. Our right hemisphere of the brain is controlling the left side of the body. Most of us are very familiar with this, the idea of being right-brained or left-brained, being controlled, our right brain controlling the left side of the body, and the left brain controlling the right side of the body. So this is already established medical knowledge. What's happening in our subtle system? How does this correlate to what we're actually feeling in our hands? So we're looking at this sixth energy center, right at the forehead. Well, in general, very simplistically, our Agnya Chakra, our sixth energy center, is felt on our ring fingers. So our ring fingers, we're familiar with them. That's where Agnya Chakra is sensed. All of our chakras actually have a right and a left aspect. So each and every one of our chakras has more detail to it. We're giving an overview in this series, but as we go onwards, we can go much more into detail of these left and right aspects. At the Agnya Chakra, we want to get into these left and right aspects because it's an important part about learning of this Agnya Chakra. So when in general, on any one of our chakras, we feel something evident on the left hand. If we're feeling the left pointer finger, for example, it corresponds to our throat chakra, the fifth chakra is on the pointer finger. If we feel something on our left hand or left pointer finger, it corresponds to the left side or the left aspect of that chakra. And when we feel on the right side, or if we're feeling on our right pointer finger, that's going to correspond to the right aspect of the chakra. Now, what's happening in our Agnya Chakra, in our sixth energy center? Well, the same holds true. On our left side, and let me start by saying, when we look at this subtle energy system that we're looking at, we depict it in such a way that it is authentic. So it's not a mirror image. The left side of this image is not on our left. It's as if we spun ourselves around and looked at a rotated version of ourselves. So when we're looking at this image, the image on this subtle system, the left side of this meditative person that we're looking at is actually on our right as we're looking at it, but it's on this image's left side. So we keep it authentic that it's his or her left side. So that's why I put up here a little L and an R. So you can see the left side is actually on our right and the right side is actually on our left. So it's as if we're spinning ourselves around and we actually are this image. Hope that makes sense, because that's an important part to understand before we go forward. So when we're looking at the left hand, which is on our right side in this image, but if we're thinking about our left hand, and we feel something on our left ring finger, so that's corresponding to our left Agnya Chakra. Where is that on our body? If we're feeling on the right ring finger, where is that on our body? And if you know the answer, you've been paying attention. So our left Agnya is actually on the right side of the brain. So this is the only exception to the rule. In general, all of our energy centers that have a right and a left component, the left side is always on the left side, and the right side is always on our right side, with the sixth energy center at the forehead, because the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. When we feel the left aspect of this chakra, it's actually on the right side of the brain. This is the only exception to the rule. It makes perfect sense as per the way our body works, but it takes a little while to absorb that. So to complement that, our right side, the right Agnya Chakra, we're going to feel that on our right ring finger. It is the right aspect of this sixth energy center, but the right aspect of it happens to be on the left side of the head. So if we were to very simply take our two hands right now and place them on the right and the left side of our head, our right hand is on the right side of our head, our left hand is on the left side of our head. Our right hand right now is on the left Agnya Chakra, or the left side of this sixth energy center. So our right hand is on the right side of the brain, which corresponds to the left Agnya Chakra. And our left hand, which is on the left side of the brain, actually corresponds to the right Agnya Chakra. So that's the only place that this is reversed. Takes a little bit of getting used to. So if we look at our subtle energy system, it's the same exact pattern. We're talking about the left side of the brain controlling the right side of the body. So with our three energy channels, when our left channel rises up, the left side of our being, so here we're rising up the left side of our being, it crosses over at the optic chiasm, and then it manifests on the right side of the brain. So our left channel's on our left side, but at the sixth energy center, it crosses over and culminates on the right side of the head. So that's our left Agnya on the right side of the head. What does this represent? So this left side of our sixth energy center has specific qualities, and I didn't want to neglect talking about them. So the left side of our sixth energy center, located on the right side of the brain, you've got that now, it represents our superego. So our superego is what we were talking about when we referred to allowing domination upon ourselves. When we have an imbalanced superego, we allow excessive domination on ourselves. We allow ourselves to be dominated. We allow ourselves to be oppressed. We're too indulging in our conditioning. So conditionings are all of the shoulds, woulds, and coulds. So I should have done that. I would have done that. Oh, I could have done that. All of these ways in which we're actually dominating or allowing ourselves to be dominated, not living in the present, not living in a dynamic, active state, but living in hypotheticals. So this is what happens when our left Agnya or superego becomes too imbalanced. On the right side, our right energy channel rises up the right side of our being. It crosses over at the sixth energy center and then culminates on the left side of the head. So our right Agnya, or right sixth energy center, is on the left side of the head, and this represents our ego. So if our superego is how we are dominated, our ego is how we dominate. So this is our typical right side, left side balance. Right side, when it's imbalanced, we're dominating, and when our left side is imbalanced, we are being dominated. So how do we dominate with our ego? Well, this is how we're projecting ourselves out into the world. If we are overly indulgent into our ego is overly inflated. What are we doing? We are dominating others, we're oppressing others, we're suppressing others, we're intolerant of others, we're not thinking or considering others in any way whatsoever. So this left and right side can create a great deal of pressure on this sixth energy center if we're living too much or allowing indulgences in either our superego or our ego. Like anything in the Sahaja journey, we don't have to change ourselves. We may identify these problems, these aspects within us. They don't make us feel great that we've got some of it happening within us, but we don't actually have to do a thing about it. What we have to do is just get into our meditation, get this process happening so that it can work itself out, so that this sixth energy center can open up and solve all of these problems of imbalances and really bring us into this beautiful balanced state. So what I wanted to do at this point is introduce you to the founder of Sahaja with a short excerpt of a video. Shri Mataji spent the last 40 years of her life traveling around the world, teaching people about this incredible technique, all of the aspects of it, and of course, giving them the happening of self-realization, enabling them to activate and feel this connection and then work with this incredible connection of their own inner energy. So this is a very short excerpt. It is from 1991, if I'm correct, and the reference link is below. And it's a very short excerpt in which Shri Mataji is talking about this optic chasm and how, because of this crossroads of these right and left energy channels crossing right here, the optic nerve, all of this crossing that's happening in this chiasm, we have an incredible amount of pressure. But when we forgive, which is the ultimate quality of this sixth energy center, these two paths, which are like a crossroads, just open up and allow for a very small opening. So let's listen to Shri Mataji.
Now then we go to the chakra here in between the optic chiasma. It is placed like this and it's absolutely closed. It is when you forgive. Christ has said that you have to forgive. When you forgive everyone, and also when you ask for forgiveness, this chakra opens like this. Otherwise it cannot open. We saw yesterday there are some people, at least there were 10-15 people who never got their realization because they had not forgiven. Then I put my hand, worked on them, and it worked. But it's very simple to forgive, because whether you forgive or don't forgive, you don't do anything. It's a myth. It's absolutely a myth that you don't forgive. But for that myth, you suffer so much. So you have to forgive to open the center of Agnya.
So in our meditation later on, we will involve this aspect of forgiveness to truly feel this sixth energy center open. And now that we understand how it works, we may actually be able to have that strength and desire to help open up this sixth energy center or create that gap in this incredibly constricted, overly pressurized crossroads. So let's get into our seventh energy center. After all of that intense learning of our sixth energy center, the seventh energy center, or the Sahasrara Chakra, actually is very simple. It's incredibly simple. There's not much to talk about. So our seventh energy center, or the Sahasrara, or the thousand-petaled lotus, as it's often described, is located in the limbic area of the brain. Right, the limbic area of the brain, right at the very top of the brain, or the fontanelle bone area, is right at the very top, centermost point at the top of our scalp. That fontanelle bone area is the soft spot when we were infants. It calcifies, it hardens throughout our life, but it's soft initially when we are born. Fontanelle means little fountain, and in medical science, this is what it's called. So we can also see that there was wisdom in the origin story of this fontanelle bone area. Our seventh energy center governs our limbic system and our autonomous nervous system. So our limbic system governing our emotion and our memory, and our autonomous nervous system, which we'll get into in a minute. So just in general, our brain. So we'll talk about our autonomous nervous system, which is composed of two different things. So our autonomous nervous system is broken down into our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. I'm not going to get into a great deal of information about these areas, but in general, we're talking about our fight or flight, how our body acts in times of stress, and how it recovers in general. So all of that governing of our responsiveness within our system. Within our sympathetic nervous system, we have a left and right aspect. So that's divided into two parts. And within our subtle energy center, we see the connection, what is happening. Our left energy channel is that left aspect of the sympathetic nervous system. So this is our left sympathetic nervous system. Our left channel is our left sympathetic nervous system, and our right energy channel is that right sympathetic nervous system. So incredible parallels between our subtle system and our medical body as a whole. Our parasympathetic nervous system, where does that lie? Can you guess? Right in the center. So our left is sympathetic is on the left, right is on the right, and our parasympathetic nervous system is that central channel, that channel of our evolution, that channel upon which or within which our inner energy is working and creating balance within each of our 7 energy centers, making that incredible rejuvenation take place. So here we are, right at the crown of the top of the head, our 7th energy center. Where do we feel it? In our hands, we're going to feel it right at the center of the palms. So right at the very center of our palms, both on the right and the left. The 7th energy center, or the Sahasrara, doesn't have a right and left component. This is where our inner energy rises up and culminates at the crown of the head. When it happens, it happens. It is one unified energy center. When it's happening, once that happening has taken place, we are going to feel it in our right and left palms of our hands. If we feel reduced energy on one or the other, it doesn't mean so much that there's an imbalance in the 7th energy center. It has to do with the balancing of our right and left energy channel. So that's a bit of helpful information in terms of that. So what happens with our 7th energy center? Well, there aren't really imbalances per se, because this is just our optimal state of being when our inner energy reaches up to this point. However, if we are unable to feel vibrations in general or on the Sahasrara Chakra in specific, that may be because this happening of self-realization has not taken place. So this happening when our inner energy culminates at the crown of the head. Once it's happened, we will be able to start feeling those vibrations. If we have an extreme amount of doubt, and I always say doubt is an incredibly important ingredient in this process of this journey of spirituality, of meditation, having doubt with us enables us to continually approach everything like a scientist. But if we do not allow for the process to prove itself to us and allow our doubt ultimately to become satisfied, to become pacified, to become relieved without having blind faith, very importantly, without having blind faith. But if we have and hold on to that extreme doubt, especially doubt in spirituality, that can also prevent us from enabling this happening to take place and enabling the sensations to develop and be felt on the crown of the head. Our qualities are very few, but they're very deep. The 7th energy center is simplistically described as the energy center of integration. This is where all of our energy centers are integrated right at the top of the head. So our system is not separated like different departments in a department store, different departments or areas within a medical facility. It's an integrated happening where each one of these separate areas, each one of these departments gets integrated at the crown of the head so that the communication that's happening is sourced and is culminated at the crown of the head in this integration. So there's a oneness that happens at that integration. There's a thoughtless awareness that happens at that integration. And ultimately, there is enlightenment that happens at that point of integration at the crown of the head. So again, I have a clip This one is from 1990. I think the previous one was from 1991. This is a short clip again of Shri Mataji talking about that process of integration. She talks about how our 7 energy centers get strung together through this rising of our inner energy. They get strung together like a string of pearls. It's a wonderful metaphor. So enjoy this little excerpt.
History of humanity, in the history of evolution, in the history of spirituality is the most important time, because here where you will get whatever has been promised to you so far. Our planet is moving in a spiral way. All the planets are moving in a spiral way, and they are creating all possible things for the use of human beings so that they can save time. Save time for getting their ascent and for meditative growth. But people don't understand that part, all right? What I try to show them, that this is the left side, this is the right side. So this is the left sympathetic nervous system, say, and this is the right sympathetic nervous system. And really spinal cord looks like this. And inside here is the spinal cord, which has the centers in it, the subtle centers. Now, when you start using the energy of these centers, say too much on the right, and it starts moving more towards the right, and there's a constriction. And the power becomes less because you are exhausting. Going more towards the right side. Suddenly something happens, and from the left, if there's a jerk, then the connection is completely broken. This is on its own. It starts working on its own. That's we can say that this has become malignant. I have no relationship with the whole to have the proportionate growth. So if the nose starts developing, it can cover your eyes, can cover your mouth, everything. This is how a cancer is set in. Or any other disease. So many psychosomatic diseases are nothing but somatic is from the right side, and when the psyche gives in, then it becomes a psychosomatic disease. There are so many diseases which are more psychosomatic than physical. And these, we call them as incurable, can be easily cured by Kundalini awakening, because when Kundalini passes through this, she just integrates them. For example, she's going like this, then she goes into this, integrates them. Just like she strings them, like pearls. And so they are brought down. And also she nourishes that center. That's how people get cured.
So that's everything. We are done with all of that cranial information coming at you. We don't really want to spend a great deal of time there. What we're truly here for is getting into the meditation itself. So let's get right into it. We may take advantage of some of these gestures and affirmations as we always do. We will definitely use this one right here at the center of the page right now, forgiveness, where we'll take the right hand, place it across the forehead, doing this affirmation from our hearts, truly with that pure desire to open up our 6th energy center. We may do this balancing technique of the left and the right. We'll just play it by ear as we always do. So that being said, if you have any noises that might disturb you, that might distract you, this now would be a great time to turn them off. Take your glasses off if you're comfortable, and you can absolutely sit comfortably. Take off your shoes so that we can really get into a nice meditation. So let's start by raising our inner energy and giving ourselves 7 shields of protection. If you're not familiar with this exercise, I would encourage you to go back and learn. We started teaching this in an earlier week in this series. It's a wonderful exercise to implement to help us get into this very deep, very potent state of thoughtless awareness. Once we've raised our inner energy and have given ourselves our 7 shields of protection, let's sit with our palms open on our laps and our eyes closed, shoulders relaxed. And see if we can bring our attention, our raising of our inner energy should have gotten us there, may have gotten us there, may not have gotten us there. Let's get there. Let's get our focus up and over the top of the head. What is in our way? What thoughts, what stimuli are distracting us from getting into the state of meditation? Are we attentive to the environment around us? Are we listening or watching all of the noise, listening to the noise externally? Or are we watching, listening, and paying attention to that noise within? Let's not do either. None of this stimuli is important. It's not going to take us where we want to go. We want to get into this incredibly conducive state for our inner energy to rise up. So let's start by taking our right hand and placing it across the forehead. This simple exercise helps to drive out all of those residual thoughts, all of the attention that we keep placing on the past and the future, all of our responsiveness to noise. It's not important. We may know that mentally, but can we implement it? So let's implement that desire, that commitment to getting into the state of thoughtless awareness through the power of forgiveness. Bending our head slightly forward, resting our head into the palm of the right hand with our right hand placed right on our forehead. Relaxing our neck and our shoulders. Feeling these words from the depths within, from our heart. Let's silently say, I forgive everyone. I completely, wholeheartedly forgive everyone. And I forgive myself. Without exception, without thinking of anyone in specific, but in general, recognizing that it is to our benefit to let go of anger, to let go of resentment. I completely forgive everyone. And I forgive myself. It may be necessary for us to repeat this a few times during our meditation, or to revisit it twice within a meditation, or 3 times. Each time that we carry this act of forgiveness out, we're getting deeper and deeper to the essence of this quality. It's not lip service. It's not superficial. It's not forced upon us like an exercise. We enact this quality or this action of forgiveness, rooted from a deep desire within us to let go of anger and resentment, to open the 6th energy center, and to emerge with our attention out of the mind into the state of thoughtless awareness. I completely forgive. I forgive everyone. And I forgive myself. We can bring our hand back to our lap. Palms open on our laps. Once our sixth energy center gets cleared or begins to open up, we will start to feel that happening by a reduced pressure on the forehead. We may feel that area lighter, less heavy, less dense. With our eyes closed, just focusing on this forehead area, we may feel a more fluid or lighter feeling as our inner energy pierces through that very dense crossroads at the optic chiasm, pierces right through, and with that forgiveness emerges on the other side, passing through an open sixth energy center and rising upwards to culminate at the seventh energy center at the crown of the head. As our inner energy creeps upwards, shoots upwards, pushes upwards, rises upwards, and reaches the crown of the head, let's express our deep desire for that happening of self-realization to take place. We'll take our right hand and place it on the crown of the head, placing the center of the right palm right on the fontanelle bone area at the center of the crown of the head. If we stretch our fingers, we'll be able to apply some gentle pressure from the palm of the hand to the crown of the head. What we'll do now is gently press and rotate the scalp, so giving that fontanelle bone area or the seventh energy center a gentle massage, not focusing on the movement of our hand. Our hand doesn't need to move much. What we're doing is we're gently pressing on the scalp and then rotating the scalp, expressing our desire that this seventh energy center open up, this happening of self-realization take place or deepen, get even stronger and more powerful. That this ultimately enlightenment, in which our inner energy culminates at the crown of the head and connects with that energy which exists all around us, that incredible happening take place. So we'll say from our hearts as we give the seventh energy center a gentle massage, I want to experience my self-realization, or I want to deepen my existing self-realization. I want to experience that integration. I want to absolutely be in the state of meditation, of thoughtless awareness, in that oneness, in that peace, in that absolute bliss. Let's pay attention to the point where our hand is touching our head and very slowly raise our hand upwards. At any point, if your arm is tired, this is not an exercise in which we want to be uncomfortable. We can switch hands at any point. What's more important is our desire and our attention on the crown of the head. So we'll keep our focus on what was that point between the hand and the head. And as we slowly raise our hand up, from that fontanelle bone area, let's let our focus expand into the space between the hand and the head. So we're not identifying with the construct of ourself. We're not focusing on the head. We're not focusing on the hand, but we're focusing on that space. Initially, the point at the crown of the head, and then that space above the crown of the head. And we can very slowly raise and lower the hand on that axis, very slowly moving our hand and observing if there are any sensations that we're feeling at this point between the head and the hand. So our hand is just sensing any sensations above the fontanelle bone area. And of course, we can switch hands. Switching hands helps to compare any sensations we might be feeling. What are we feeling on or above the crown of the head? This ability to observe is heightened when we are in the state of thoughtless awareness. So if we're observing while analyzing, while thinking, while excessively doubting, it may not be very apparent. So without blindly accepting is happening, but just enabling this hypothesis to take place by bringing our attention into a silent mental state, into that state of thoughtless awareness, focusing on the silent gap between our thoughts. While in that silence, while not thinking, simply let's observe what we're feeling, close to or farther above the crown of the head. Let's keep our focus there as we return our hand back to our lap, home position, palms open on our laps, maintaining and sustaining our focus above the crown of the head. Seeking out that silent space between our thoughts and maintaining our focus there. In that gap, in that void between our thoughts, in this present moment, in the state of thoughtlessly being aware, with our focus above the crown of the head. Let's keep our attention there and enjoy a few minutes of meditation with a bit of music. check on what we're feeling over the crown of the head by raising one of our hands up and over the crown of the head, observing what sensations we're feeling at this point in our meditation. What are we feeling close to? The seventh energy center right over the crown of the head. And what, if any, sensations might we be able to feel as we raise our hand up higher? And we can switch our hands to compare that observation. As our meditation goes on, if we are getting deeper into that meditative state, deeper into thoughtless awareness, the ability to observe that vibratory awareness will increase. So we stay committed to getting into the state, and then we watch the incredible awareness, those vibrations, that energy start to flow. Let's now see what we're feeling in the palms of the hands. So with our hands open in front of us, fingertips apart, what, if any, sensations are we feeling on either the left or the right hand, in the fingers, in the center of the palms? Keeping our attention in that silent space between our thoughts, keeping our focus up and over the top of the head. As we get into a deeper meditative state, we will just feel more, letting this energy communicate to us on the palms of our hands, on the tops of our heads. What is the state of my subtle system? So let's just take note without thinking or analyzing, just observing, bringing our hands back to our laps. We'll slowly bring our meditation to an end and close it by raising our inner energy once again, right up the central channel 3 times, tying our knots up and over the crown of the head, using this exercise to really take this experience forward, to sustain that growth that we are achieving meditation after meditation, building upon our progress one by one, exponentially growing in that journey. And then our 7 shields of protection, protecting each one of our 7 energy centers. So lovely to be here with you every time. Love getting the chance to meditate with you. So happy to share this experience with you. Keep it going. I can't stress enough. What will make this grow is that continued time and quality energy and desire that you're putting into your regular meditations. Twice a day, mornings and evenings, 10 to 15 minutes. Getting our foot soaks in the evenings are a fantastic way to keep our system clean, to keep that growth happening. Meditating collectively, an incredibly, indisputably necessary ingredient in growing in this practice. And we're using this, raising our energy, our 7 shields of protection, and we can now, it's getting easier and easier to start paying attention. Once we're getting into that state of thoughtless awareness, we no longer have to work as hard to get into that silent state. We can pay more attention to what we're feeling on our hands and on the top of the head. Thank you again for coming. Such a blessing to be here with you, to share this with you. I look forward to meditating with you again very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day and week. Take care. Bye-bye.